Breaking News TV, Russian accent.
Oh, they had to start a coup, with victims, bloody events, a civil war, terrifying the population in the southeast of Ukraine and in Crimea. And all for what? In my opinion, this is being done to justify the existence of NATO. An external enemy is needed, an external threat. Otherwise, what is the purpose of NATO?
Armata tank may become remote controlled. Both Russia and China have recently successfully tested their hypersonic gliders, capable of breaching the American THAAD system, Terminal High Altitude Area Defense. An air-droppable missile defense complex is being developed for Russia's airborne forces to ensure that after landing, troops have the means to secure the skies and prevent inbound airstrikes. This system will be the first operating version of its kind in the world. Russia's all-new Buyan M missile corvette may be small, but the weapons it carries on board really boggle the mind. The servicemen of the Independent Rocket Artillery Brigade of Russia's Northern Fleet have received Bastion, NATO reporting name SSC-5, Mobile Coastal Defense Missile Systems, bomb-proof. Russian Terminator Girl tests the next-generation personal armor. The next-generation protective suit she was testing was developed by Central Research Institute of Precision Machine Building for Russian Armed Forces. More than 20 new types of robots are being developed in Russia that will someday be put to use in life-threatening situations on the battlefield. This is Russia's latest combat helicopter with a flight speed 450 plus kilometers per hour. When Belgium is giving to its citizens radiation protection pills, we have Putin forming a national guard in Russia that will take orders only from Putin. In a sweeping reorganization of Russia's internal security apparatus, President Vladimir Putin has announced the creation of the new National Guard in Russia, a powerful new paramilitary unit charged with combating terrorism and organized crime and maintaining social order. Why did the president decide to create this new military unit now? The National Guard's personnel could be used on orders by the Russian president in operations aimed at maintaining or restoring global peace and security. It is very strange when we have Putin stating that he is not going to leave his position without fight, like Yanukovych, president of Ukraine, did. He just left his position without a fight.
I called Donald Trump a bright personality, and there's no doubt about how bright a personality he is. Trump said he wants to restore full-fledged relations with Russia. What's bad about that? All of us welcome it, don't you? In any case, we'll work with any president elected by the American people. However, the Americans keep lecturing others on democracy. But are their own elections really that democratic? There were two cases when a US president was elected by a majority of delegates who represented a minority of the population. Is that democracy?
According to this website, the billionaire who is warning us about an MP attack on America, according to him, Illuminati is worshipping a different god than most of us. When a major conflict between world's superpowers is about to begin, we have Pope Francis and Patriarch Kirill signing some documents. What are they signing there? A new religion for us? When the World War III will be finished, a large-scale war should be averted at all costs. A new clash of world powers should be prevented at all costs. Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill said in an exclusive interview, stressing that both Russia and the US must do everything possible to improve relations and to prevent World War III at any cost. Patriarch Kirill warned that a confrontation between two major powers with immense destructive force have the potential to devastate the whole world. We have Patriarch Kirill going to Antarctica, blessing the water and land. He said, I quote, "When I blessed water in the Antarctic today, I thought about the whole earth that is below us and I prayed for God's creation." Russia has 10 research stations in the Antarctic. There are about 30 nations who operate permanent research stations in Antarctica, including the United States, Russia, Australia, Britain, France and Argentina.
Has the US been affected by the sanctions? No, they couldn't care less about them. It's Europe that's been affected. And Americans tell their European partners that they have to tolerate them for a while. But why do they have to tolerate them? I don't understand. Well, if that's what they want, then let it be. But why? Maybe Matteo can explain that to me.
NATO is undertaking the biggest reinforcement of our collective defense in decades. We agreed to enhance our forward presence in the eastern part of the alliance.
NATO relations towards Russia remain close and unfriendly. In stronger words, we have reached the level of a new Cold War, and Mr. Stoltenberg highlighted that. Sometimes I wonder whether we live in 2016 or 1962.
The financial cost of war in Syria exceeded $200 billion. This price does not include the cost of Russian military spending. It only includes the economic damage and the damage to infrastructure that exceeds $200 billion due to bombing the country. In my view, World War III in Syria was about to start when there was 350,000 soldiers, 20,000 tanks, 2,450 warplanes and 460 military helicopters were participating in military exercise in Saudi Arabia called Northern Thunder. Then, out of the sudden, Putin orders Russian army to start Syria pullout. It was obvious that World War III was about to start, but Putin has changed the military strategy, and Illuminati did not like Putin to act in such a strategic way, preventing the beginning of World War III in Syria. Illuminati's plans for starting World War III in Syria clearly failed, period. I wonder, what is the next step of Illuminati? All signs indicate that World War III will start from any European country bordering with Russia. It seems that almost every other day NATO begins a new military drill somewhere around the world, and almost all of them are targeted at Russia. The alliance has used the Ukraine crisis to build up its military presence on Putin's doorstep. Russian military call it as they see it. NATO is getting ready for war. Vladimir Putin gives NATO an ultimatum. Russia will have a totally asymmetrical response if NATO stands by a plan to deploy new military units to Eastern Europe. US has been getting ready for a possible war involving Russia in Europe's Baltic states. The report says that all the NATO war games organized in the region by Washington have been intended to prepare various military response scenarios. The decision to quadruple US military presence in Europe puts the US at its highest risk of a possible nuclear war with Russia. The US Defense Secretary Ashton Carter previewed the Pentagon's proposed 2017 budget. The $583 billion budget includes plans to quadruple US spending on its European military from $789 million of US dollars to increase to $3.5 billion US dollars. In this video, we are going to look at the preparation for World War III from Russian side. In my new video, I am going to talk about World War III preparations from the US and NATO side. And in my new video, I will show you the scale of unprecedented military drills and military hardware movement on Russian border in Eastern Europe. The reason why we are looking at this map is that I want to show you that Putin is surrounded by US and NATO countries and its allies. I want you to have a clear picture in your mind because all the other information in this video and in my new video will be related to this map. To prevent an attack on Moscow, Putin is placing S-400 missile defense systems around Moscow. Also in Moscow we have mobile vehicles with nuclear missiles patrolling Moscow streets. We have S-400 defense missile systems put there along Finland, and we have S-400 defense missile systems here in Kaliningrad. We have NATO troops built up in Eastern Europe, having drills and bringing all kinds of military hardware all along the border with Russia. We have NATO stockpiling military hardware in Norway. This is Finland. There are 900,000 troops ready to go if necessary. In Ukraine, along Russian border, we have troops participating in all kinds of drills and training. We have NATO drills in Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Ukraine, Moldova, Romania and Georgia. Currently, the United States has 116,400 military personnel assigned to its European Command, an organization that commands the US military affairs in other 93 countries. Roughly 2/3 of US military personnel are in Germany. We have US military bases with more than 70,000 US troops there. Just a little bit more than 70 years ago, we had a great war between major superpowers. Today, in the same place, on the same map, we have the same superpowers in the face of NATO and Russia preparing for a major war. Just remember, only a little bit more than 70 years ago, in the same place on this map, millions and millions of people died fighting for the same forces that are preparing a major conflict today. My biggest concern is that during World War II there was no nuclear weapons available in such a big amount that is available today. And in the same place on this map there was no nuclear power plants, so the war was limited in scope.
While the Allied forces lost hundreds of thousands of citizens during the course of the conflict, at least 27 million Soviets were killed during what's known in Russia as the Great Patriotic War. The Eastern Front also proved the deadliest for Nazi Germany, with 74% of their war deaths occurring there. Almost every single Soviet family suffered the horrors of this war. Only 37% of all men drafted to the front line survived till the end of the conflict.
Barack Obama has become the first sitting US president to visit the Japanese city of Hiroshima, the site of the world's first military atomic bombing in 1945. He has been speaking at the opening of the memorial commemorating the victims of the atrocity. The US atomic bombing of Hiroshima nearly destroyed the entire city. A second nuclear attack 3 days later on Nagasaki in southern Japan killed 70,000 more. Many of the survivors have suffered cancer and other radiation-induced illnesses, or have remained unmarried and childless over concerns of birth defects. In World War II, Japan fought on the side of Nazi Germany and battled in the Pacific Theater against Allied forces. Tokyo had already moved to offer its surrender. Nevertheless, the US still claims the atomic bombs were necessary to end the war. However, many want to hear an apology from Washington for a bombardment often described as unnecessary. But according to the US president, that's for historians to decide, and other American politicians support that view.
The Japanese have not asked us to come and reflect on the wisdom or not of that decision, nor have they asked for the United States to apologize. And in any event, we would not.
With Barack Obama, I have this sick feeling in my stomach that he's going to go and apologize. The White House says that's not going to happen. Honestly, I'll believe it when I see it.
Albert Siegel, a Japan-based correspondent, says that 7 decades later, the tragedy still affects many people's lives.
Now, the site pays tribute to the city of Hiroshima, which is the first city in the world to be attacked using nuclear weapons. It's a legacy that continues to affect citizens and survivors and the descendants. I'm standing outside Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park, where in just a few short hours, U.S. President Barack Obama is expected to make a historic visit. Most people in Japan are not expecting an apology, nor is the U.S. offering one. But what many people hope will happen is that U.S. President Obama will at least pay tribute to the innocent lives lost and hopefully take steps toward a future without nuclear weapons.
I order to act in the toughest way. All parties threatening the Russian forces and our infrastructure on the ground are to be destroyed immediately.
All right, look at the guy to port. Look at the left one. He is on the deck. On the deck, below the bridge wing. Over the bow, right turn, over the bow. Looks like you may come across the flight deck, coming in low, bridge wing level. Bridge wing level. Below the bridge wing. Below the bridge wing.
С праздником! С Днем Великой Победы! Ура!